Hi everyone, Lady Rose here, and I am here to do the pick a pile reading that I posted up on my Facebook page, Goddess Garage Tarot Parlor. So I got you to, I believe it was yesterday I posted it up, to pick a pile between 1 and 4, and then I was going to do a reading today. So here I am to do that reading depending on the pile that you picked. So we'll start with number 1. So those of you that picked number 1, here's your pile here. Now I'll tell you what decks I'm using too to begin with. I'm using my regular working deck, which is the Guilded Tarot deck. I don't have the box anymore because I've been using this deck for about 10 years now. So the box is long gone. But anyways, it's my working deck. So it's the Guilded Tarot that I'm using. I'll put a link for it in the comments in case you want to get your own version. In fact, I'll put 2 links for it because there's a couple of different versions of it. So there's the regular version. Where did I put my deck? Ah, here it is. So there's the regular version of it, and there it is. And as you can see from the way the cards look, they're all, you know, worn a little bit because I do use this deck all the time. It's always the one I go to. Sometimes I'll switch it out, but this one definitely is what I call my working deck. So there's this one, and it's sort of this version where there's borders and things like that. I believe there's the second version that has slightly different cards. A lot of them are the same, but some of them are a little bit different. They're a little more, even more colorful than this, and I don't think they have the borders, or not nearly as much the same as the borders are here. So anyways, this is a well-used deck. She knows what she's doing, and she's ready to go. So she's in each of the piles. And then I'm going to start with a Moonology card for each of you. So Moonology does a couple of different things for me. It tells me what kind of energy you're in, so I can reveal to you what kind of energy it's going to be for this week. It also can tell me about the timing of things, whether it's time to kind of be still, whether it's time to release, whether it's time to move forward, whatever it might be. The other deck I have is the Goddess Guidance deck. So this deck, you know, I just was feeling the goddess today, so I thought, well, I'll throw this in, and there's all kinds of different guidance you can get, which are always good. And then the fourth deck that I used is Earth Magic by Stephen D. Farmer. I've got his other deck too, which is Messages from Your Animal Spirits. So I really like this deck. I got it last year. I got it actually another version of it, but it was sort of a smaller version of it. So I've had it for a little while, and I liked it so much that I got this bigger version of it. And I really find it's very informative, it's very point on, and it's also very gentle. So I really liked this deck when I got it. So I use it fairly often now too, and I've incorporated it this week. So I'm probably going to try and do a tarot, well, not a tarot reading, but a pick a pile reading probably twice a month, sort of near the beginning end of a month and somewhere near the middle of the month, just so that, you know, you can check in, see how things are going for you. So let us continue with pile number 3, and I'll put a link to, sorry, I keep distracting myself, I'll put a link as well below in the comments for each of these decks in case you want a copy for yourself as well. So you can always go to my Goddess Garage Tarot Parlor page on Facebook to find out when the next reading is going to happen. If you subscribe here and click the bell, you'll get notifications when new videos go up, and twice a month it should be a new reading of a pick a pile. So like I said, I've got the 4 piles here. Let's begin with pile number 1. For those of you that picked number 1, I've got the Moonology card, and the first card is A New Romantic Cycle Begins. You've got the new moon in Libra. So this is for, you know, the next couple of weeks for those of you that have picked number 1. So you've got a new romance starting, and romance doesn't always mean a relationship or a sexual kind of romance kind of thing. It could be a romance in life. It could be, you know, as far as, you know, you're finding the romance in life. Maybe you're out gardening and it's very romantic for you to be out there loving the plants, loving your time out there, creating, getting your I was going to say your face, getting your hands into the dirt. Don't put your face in the dirt. So, you know, it could be that kind of romance as well. So those of you that are happily married, don't necessarily worry that there's a new person walking into your life. And a new romantic cycle, even if you have been married for a long time, can sometimes mean that, you know, if you've been married for a long time, as I have, that romance goes in cycles and maybe there's a little more love happening right now. So that's always good. So a new romantic cycle is beginning over the next couple of weeks. You've got the new moon in Libra. So anything you have passion for or love for, something maybe you've been putting on the back burner, is something to start now because you're in a new moon phase. So it's a good time to start some of these things. Take the initiative. Libras always love perfection and things like that, and they can be very charming. I kind of call them the James Bond of the zodiac. They have that charming way about them. We all know how James Bond was with the women, very romantic and very spy-like. So that's kind of the energy that you're in. So keep that in mind for when you're starting new things. Look for things that you kind of are loving to do. And then you've got, for earth magic, you've got sanctuary and cave. So I know right now that we're coming out of COVID and we've all been in the sanctuary and the cave, but for you over the next couple of weeks, it's actually going to be a good thing for you to kind of, you can see he's drawing on the wall, to kind of tell your story. That's sort of what I'm sensing. So journaling is very important for you over the next couple of weeks, talking about your experience. Perhaps not going out too much. You're not yet ready for some reason. So don't feel like, you know, there might be lots of things on Facebook or the media might be talking about, oh, the beaches are opening and, oh, you know, I went to see my grandma and it was so much fun. It was great to get together for a barbecue and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think for you, for the next couple of weeks or so, take it slow. Don't rush out there and necessarily get yourself out there right away. For some reason, the cards are saying you need to kind of just, you know, keep your distance a little bit and perhaps write about what you're going through. Okay, so I did say this was about journaling and perhaps maybe not rushing to go outside, and then your next card is go outside. So this is a huge paradox, but it doesn't mean go outside into public. I'm sensing it's go outside into your garden, onto your balcony, go for a walk by yourself in the woods, in a park, or whatever. Don't be getting into groups of people, even though groups of 10 are allowed. Try not to get into groups right now because for whatever reason you're not ready for it and it's not meant to be something you're supposed to do. It does say that you have been indoors too long. Go outside and get some fresh air. So even though this is saying cave and sanctuary, caves are outside too, right? So find that sanctuary outside. So, but like I said, kind of do it in a solitary way. You're not looking like, it's okay if you go out with one person, but try not to get into groups for whatever reason. This is something I'm just sensing for those that picked number 1. Now the Three of Wands, I saw this come up and it kind of made me laugh a little bit when I saw cave and sanctuary, because this is the energy you're going into, because it's about traveling, and not that you're going to travel, but it's about starting something new. So really it's the new moon phase. It's starting something new for you. You're supposed to be in this planning stage. That's why journaling came up for me, in this sort of planning stage. So there's something new that you're about to begin, and you need to kind of, in a solitary way, make the plans over the next couple of weeks for it. But be sure to go outside too and do some of your planning outside, like sit on a park bench or find a lawn chair and, you know, put it outside and sit there and do your planning and your journaling and things like that, because something new is coming for you. I'm not sure if you're looking to do something new as far as a side hustle or even perhaps a new job altogether, because you've got this Three of Wands. And what this is you've got your traveling clothes on, you've got a wand in your hand. Wands often talk about something we're creatively passionate about. It can be about work as well. And your ship is coming in, and it's a number 3. So what that is about is taking that first step. That's not going to happen until after a couple of weeks. This all has to happen first, right? So you have to fall in love with something, or something you've been thinking about, fall in love with it again, fall in love with yourself, fall in love with your partner. Then the sanctuary comes up. We're creating that sanctuary, more an outdoor sanctuary as opposed to an indoor sanctuary, and do that journaling and planning. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, you're about to take that step. You're about to take that initiative, because that's what 3s are about. 1s are about the idea, 2s are about the planning and making the choice, and 3s are when we actually start the ball moving. So the ball will be moving for you in a couple of weeks. So if there's a project, something or something like that that you've been wondering about, you're going to hear about it and start it in a couple of weeks. So if there's a message that you're waiting to hear, like whether it's about a job or something like that, maybe it's you're not sure if you're going back to work, because maybe if you've been called back in or what's going on, but in a couple of weeks you're going to kind of know what you need to hear. So keep that in mind. Now we're moving on to pile number 2. Pile number 2. So the 2 people. Okay, so number 2s, you've got a super moon. So that means that the moon is very close. You're very connected to it right now. You're really feeling it right now. Emotions are running high for you. So what this is telling me is that you're really feeling these retrogrades, because a lot of planets have gone into retrograde. I believe Venus has just come out of retrograde. So there's a lot of energy kind of going on. And you've really been feeling these waves, and then you're also feeling all the social stuff that's going on with COVID and everything else going on south of the border, because I'm in Canada here. You've been feeling that. You may have been putting too much into that, so you need to ease off a little bit. Maybe take a social media break, not from my page, of course, or from my channel, but but maybe take a little break. Don't try to read every news article that's out there. Sometimes it's okay to not be up to date, kind of thing, right? The only reason I say this is because I can see what's coming next. So you've got a tsunami as your earth energy. So it's a wake-up call. So, like I said, you've been feeling everything. You're a little overwhelmed right now, or at least you're feeling overwhelmed. You're not sure which way to go. And then there's nothing more overwhelming than a tsunami, right? But take that energy and let it be your wake-up call. Challenge what you're feeling. Why am I feeling this way? What is this? What is it really? Right? That's what I always teach to my HEAP clients. When you're feeling frustrated, when you're feeling angry, when you're feeling out of control, ask, what is this? This is me being frustrated, or this is me being super emotional and I can't stop crying. What is it really? It's perhaps a fear. It could be, anything like that. So always ask, what is it really? Because when you say, what is this? You're sort of detaching yourself from that emotion. So I'm sort of thinking that a lot of you that picked number 2 are very empathetic and tend to be empath type people. And as empaths, because I am one myself, you can get a little overwhelmed when the world is being very turbulent, and we've got planets and Earth being turbulent at the same time. So it can be a little like, oh my God, what's happening here? So you really need to put yourself in check. Don't let yourself become the tsunami, because that's where you're heading. by letting all these emotions and all this energy just kind of wash over you and letting it attach to you. So that's the thing. As an empath, you have to learn to recognize which are your emotions and which are the world's or other people's emotions, and not let them attach to you. If they attach to you, that's when you're feeling like, I can't be in this crowd, or I got to get out of here, or I'm so emotional, because you're taking on the emotions, and you're not just taking them on, you're taking them in. So that's a dangerous place to go to as an empath. As a truly gifted empath, you need to learn how to not take those emotions in. You need to learn how to recognize them for sure. You're going to feel them, like be aware of them, but you don't need to take them into you. So that's something I had to learn, to not get burnout all the time. So it does become a wake-up call, because you're going to have to challenge yourself. Because when I first started recognizing that I don't need to take the emotion in, I just need to recognize that it's there and put it in its proper place, it was a bit of a challenge for me, because I was so used to taking it on, right? So that's not the gift, that's the curse. The gift is knowing that, okay, this is an energy from this situation, and this is energy because people were upset over COVID and afraid and that sort of thing, right? That wave is kind of dissipated a little bit, so that's good, but nevertheless there's still the wreckage after the storm. So it's becoming aware of what is your emotion and what is someone else's or some situation's energy, and learning to put it in its own container. Say, that's what this is over here, and that's okay. So what am I feeling? What is this, my emotion? Is this what I'm really feeling? Or am I feeding into the energy that I'm picking up and allowing it to grow to an even stronger, more destructive kind of energy? So challenge yourself and know that not everything you feel is necessarily your own, and know too that what you're feeling can be changed by a choice. You can choose, like maybe you're feeling scared in the moment, maybe you're feeling anxious in the moment. That's totally valid. But what we need to do then is to take control of that and go, okay, I'm feeling anxious. What is it really? Why am I feeling anxious? Maybe it's because I'm feeling overwhelmed. Okay, so we need to get out of this circle of overwhelmness, and we need to move into a circle of calmness. So I'm going to make the choice, and you can do different techniques, like definitely touching something and describing it brings you back into the now. And that's what it means by coming back into the now, and then allowing yourself to make the choice to return to calmness. So get into the present moment and then return to calmness. You can't go from anxious to calm. You have to come back into the now. Being anxious means you're in the future because you're worrying about things, right? So that's a future mindset. You're in the future when you're doing those things of being anxious. So now you have to come back into the now. So like I said, you touch something. Eating doesn't mean every time you're anxious go and eat, but eating does physically force your body into the now. And definitely root-based vegetables and things like that, like carrots. Keep carrots in your fridge, and if you're feeling anxious, eat a carrot, and that will physically bring your body into the now, which will make it mentally easier for you and spiritually easier for you to come into the now. And that's when you can kind of touch something and, here's my amethyst. What does it feel like? It's cool. It's sharp and bumpy. It's purple. It's sparkly. When you do that, that brings you into the now. And then when you're done describing your amethyst or whatever it is you've picked up, now you can say, okay, I'm consciously making the choice of going into calmness. So that's how you do it. Because a lot of people will say, I can't go into calmness when I'm being anxious, when I'm having a panic attack or whatever. Absolutely, I agree with you. You cannot. You have to go into the now first, and then you can go into calmness. So keep that in mind when you're feeling those overwhelming moments, and don't be afraid to distance yourself from social media every once in a while. Take a look in the morning if you want to. and then don't look at it again till the evening. You know, you don't have to check it every 5 minutes or whatever. And watch your patterns. You know, do you get anxious after you've been on social media and watching all the news things or seeing all the things that people are doing? So watch that about yourself. Take care of that. Track it for a little bit if you want, just to watch how your emotions go. But you've got some good news. You're able to get yourself into check, and you have the goddess Abundania, which is about prosperity. So you have some prosperity coming. So that's if you get the wake-up call and you put yourself in check and you understand, or you start to understand how to control some of those more overwhelming kind of things that come in. And it says the universe is pouring its abundance out to you. Be open to receiving. So that's why these first two cards came up, because it's saying right now you're not really open to the gifts that the universe wants to give you. You have the ability to become open, but you need to bring awareness to this fact that you are feeling a little overwhelmed. It is feeling a little tsunami-like, and that you need to have that wake-up call. So take that advice that I told you about coming into the now, because then prosperity and the gifts the universe wants to give you come pouring in over the next 2 weeks. And I mean pouring in. Now the Seven of Wands, this is an interesting card. And right now I can tell you the energy around this card is not what is normally around this card. So the Seven of Wands. Sevens are interesting in tarot because there's a couple of good sevens and there's a couple sort of disappointing sevens. Sevens can be a little bit of a trial, a little bit of disappointment, that sort of thing. But that's not what this card is about. And normally this card is about being defensive, but that's not what this card is about in this energy right now that I'm picking up. What I'm picking up over the next 2 weeks is abundance does flow in, and I mean big time flow in for you, your number twos. But you still, even though you've kind of taken, you know, the overwhelming emotions, all the retrogrades that we've been going through and stuff like that, and you kind of went, okay, I understand all this is happening, but this is where I need to go, into a place of calmness, peace, whatever it might be, into a place of openness. And then things start pouring in, and then you have some doubts. You have some doubts about whether you deserve it, whether you're worthy of it, and like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'm taking too much, you know, that sort of thing. You're feeling like maybe I'm being selfish. So you're sort of defensive in a way, but you're defensive with yourself. There's no one saying, oh, why are you getting this and I didn't get it, blah, blah, blah. Nothing like that. It's all in your head. So this is what I'm saying to you, is that you need to also not only learn how to not take on everyone's emotions or everyone's energy or the world's energy and things like that, but also there's something you need to forgive yourself for, because for some reason you feel that you're not worthy of the abundance. Because like I said, it's going to pour in over the next 2 weeks as long as you open yourself to receiving it. So don't take compliments as they come, graciously. If someone says, oh, beautiful dress, don't say, oh, this old thing, you know, say, well, thank you very much. Look for opportunities to give, look for opportunities to receive. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because it's there if you need it. And asking for help over the next 2 weeks is very important for you too, because by asking for help, you're opening yourself up to abundance to come in. So don't be afraid to ask for help, and also know that you deserve what's coming. You deserve it. So don't block it. Don't say, no, I'm sorry, can't take that gift because I just don't deserve it. No. So this is something you need to watch out for, because once it starts pouring in, you're going to think, oh, this is just too good to be true, because there's no way I deserve this. You do. Remember that. When something comes in, when a gift comes in, say thank you, be grateful for it, and know that more is coming and that you deserve it. So this is going to be a good 2 weeks, but it's all on you as to whether it's going to be a good 2 weeks for the number 2 people. Now we've got the number 3 people. So those of you that picked number 3. Oh, okay. So a couple of things as far as energy goes. Let me just take a quick peek here. I get to look ahead of you guys. Oh my goodness, threes, you're very exciting. Okay, so the only thing with threes is you've got this south node, which is awesome. South node is also the tail of your dragon. So when I do astrology readings, I have a reading that's your dragon reading, and I talk about where the head of your dragon is and where the tail of your dragon is. And the tail of your dragon is your south node. So what the south node talks about in your chart is it can sort of talk about some of your past lives, what kind of characteristics you had, what kind of energy you had in that past life, perhaps what skills and talents you honed in those past lives. Because when we reincarnate, we always bring things forward with us, our skills, our experience. We don't always remember them specifically, but there's reasons why you're sort of naturally good at this, you know, why you're drawn to this sort of thing, you know, whether it's, you know, like I'm always drawn to Russian literature or whatever. I'm drawn to, I say that because I'm drawn to Russian literature, and I've read a lot of Russian writers, and I identify with a lot of Russian things because I've been a Russian in another life. So there's a reason why you tend to be drawn. I mean, I have that with other things too. And yes, you know, I was recently going through my past lives and realizing, oh, I'm kind of timelining it a little now. So anyways, enough about me, on to you. So this is don't let your past hold you back. So like I said, the tail of your dragon or your south node is all about strengths that you already have mastered. And sometimes in life, when we come into this plane, we're supposed to really be going towards the head of our dragon, learning a new lesson. A lot of us like to sit in our tail because it's things we already know. So if you compare it to school, you know, it's like you've already know how to play the piano, so you take the music course and you learn to play the piano, but you've already learned that, and it's like the easier courses, right? Because these are all things you know. The head of your dragon, I compare it to a math class because I like concrete math, but once you get into imaginary numbers, you've lost me. So it's like algebra class, right? I'm kind of like, So sometimes we avoid the head of our dragon because it's a little like algebra class and you don't really want to go, but you have to learn it anyways, right? Otherwise you tend to fail this life, and you can fail a life. It is possible. And you will then have to repeat the life. Not verbatim, but again, the same lesson, right? So this south part too is also where our power lies. So if you're a natural born leader, probably you've been a leader in another life, maybe not the best leader, but you learned a lot of skills of how to be a leader. So coming into this life, you just naturally are a natural born leader kind of thing. So you get a lot of power from here, but sometimes we tend to want to live here as well. So this card is saying that right now you're in that south node for your next 2 weeks. You're really drawing on the power of your tail, because really as far as dragons go, the head's great. Yeah, it can breathe fire sometimes. Not all dragons breathe fire, but the tail of a dragon is a force to be reckoned with. You whip that thing around and you're knocking out whole cities, right? So the tail of your dragon can be very powerful. So right for the next 2 weeks, you're going to be living in that power of your tail, which is awesome, but don't let your past hold you back. So you sometimes when you're in the tail of your dragon, you tend to be a little nostalgic. Things were always better when, and you're going back. So these guys were living in the future with their anxiety. You're living in the past. So you have to bring yourself into the now as well. Because sometimes living in the past or letting your past hold you back, like I said, you tend to reminisce about how things were better when, that sort of thing. You create blocks where you're not moving forward because you're kind of becoming stagnant. Pity parties tend to be a thing for those that are kind of dwelling in the past a little bit. Maybe there's some time of regret. You know, did I make the right decision going left instead of right, or, you know, that sort of thing, right? So don't let yourself dwell on those things, because you're going to have a tendency to want to dwell on those things. You can't change what decisions you made. You are who you are because of every decision you made up until this point. Accept yourself the way you are. Know that you're lovable, know that you're worthy, and keep going. And, you know, you can always go forward in a more correct way if you want to. Again, it's your choice. It's you who chooses. You can live in that circle of regret, or you can decide, no, this is where I am. These are my natural good skills that I have, because you've got that South Node energy around you, so they're really coming through, which is awesome. But don't live in that circle of the past. Come back to the now and then move forward. So one thing that will help you in all that, you know, I want to have a pity party, I want to look at the regrets, I want to look at all the bad decisions I made, because none of us make the right decision every single time. If we did, we wouldn't be on this plane. That's the whole point of these reincarnations, is to learn these lessons of life. So perhaps you're going through a bit of a life lesson right now. Be grateful for it and go out into the woods. Get in touch with nature and breathe. So, you know, even if you're in the city, there's still trees around. Find where there's trees, touch a tree, stand beside a tree, be near trees where you're getting their energy. Don't always be thankful to the tree. When you're like, you don't actually have to hug a tree if you feel uncomfortable. You can. I absolutely encourage that. But if I see you in a park hugging a tree, I'll be like, yay. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can stand in the aura of a tree. So that's like a foot or two away from a tree, and ask for its energy. Ask permission. Can I take some of the energy from you? Because as we know, as we found out, trees often network with each other and they help to keep each other alive. They can also help us. But I always remind people, ask permission first. So don't just take energy, because then you're a vampire. So ask first, be grateful for the energy, always thank them afterwards. And also do a grounding with yourself, because when you do a grounding, it really helps to feed both yourself and the tree, because you can draw Mother Earth's energy, the earth energy, for both of you up into them, and also be taking energy from the tree, and the tree's feeding off of you, and it can become a very synergetic kind of relationship. So that's always good. So get into the woods, the forest, get near a tree, and breathe. Remember to breathe. Over the next 2 weeks, breathe. You're supposed to take 40 deep breaths every single day. Most of us take 10. And maybe because of COVID, we've been sort of slowing down and having that time to meditate. But just keep that in mind. Have you taken 40 deep breaths today? And if you haven't, then start. And then you have Vesta, who is the goddess of the home. So she's your goddess this couple of weeks. Your household situation is improving, either through a move or a healthy change in the occupants. So your household situation is improving. So maybe it's been a little tense at home. Maybe you're getting sick of each other. Maybe you just need to get out. That's the reason why you need to get into the forest. And like either you're moving or there's a healthy change in the occupants. And it doesn't mean someone's leaving the house. It could mean that someone's attitude is changing in the house. You know, like I'm using teenager as an easy example. If you've been living with a moody teenager over the last 3 months, it can be a little like, oh my God, you know. But maybe things are changing because they're allowed to get out more often. You're allowed to get out more often. You go into the woods and you do some walking and hugging of trees and things like that. And it just puts you in a better place because your teenager's been able to get out a little bit more. It puts them in a better place, so you're not knocking heads quite as much as you were during COVID, that sort of thing. So your household situation is changing, and it's changing for the better. You've got Vesta, the goddess Vesta, who is the goddess of home and hearth. So things become quite cozy at home. That's sort of the feeling I'm getting. And you've also got the Queen of Swords as your tarot card. So the Queen of Swords, she is someone not to be messed with. She often is alone, and she actually likes to be alone. Even though there is a king, she doesn't always have the king with her. So it's about time to step into your queendom as the Queen of Swords. And swords have to do with communication. So that's probably why this is here, the queen, the goddess of home and hearth, and why also too the forest is here, because you've been able to get out, stretch yourself, And when you're in the forest and breathing and taking in Mother Earth's energy and tree energy, you're able to kind of, you know, cleanse yourself a little, expand yourself so you don't feel quite so confined. Then the home doesn't seem so confining. So some of it, of the change, is the change in you as well, but you'll find the change in your household overall is much better. And then the Queen of Swords is here because it's about communicating, both with yourself, with your attitude towards home, with your, you know, again, dealing with the past, right? Because you've got this South Node. Instead of dealing with, or instead of dwelling on the past, you're embracing your powers, the skills and talents that you naturally have that are in your tail, that you're not sitting there. Of course, you're not sitting in your tail, but you're using those skills that you naturally brought forward. And one of them is going to be communication. And it's a change in communication, both in your mental attitude and how you're speaking to yourself, and also in your attitude and how you speak and communicate with those around you, whether it's a partner, whether it's children, whether it's even co-workers, because I know some people have been frustrated, you know, communicating with coworkers because they can't do it in person and that sort of thing. So this is something to be thought about as your queen. It's a change in the way you think and communicate, because of course our thoughts become our words. So it's sort of a change in attitude in you, which is a good change. And it's also a change in the way and how you communicate with others. You maybe don't rise to the occasion. You don't let people push your buttons so much. And again, it doesn't mean they change in what they say. You're changing your reaction. And that can sort of dispel any of the tenseness that sometimes happens between people when they're pushing your buttons, because sometimes people aren't always aware that they're pushing your buttons. They might say something and you take great offense at it, and they didn't mean it that way, even when they're speaking. I mean, I know a lot gets lost in communication sometimes through text, but even when we're speaking, sometimes we've lost some of the art of communication. So you gain some of that back, because I suspect that's actually one of your talents. So that's why the South Node energy is around you as well, because it's in being that good communicator. And part of being the good communicator is also being the good listener. So keep that in mind for when people are around you and you need to change the way you're communicating. So on to number 4 people. So number 4 people, you've got a full moon in Capricorn. This is a pretty heavy one. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, I believe, and Capricorns are very heavy. Capricorns come into this world old. Capricorn children are old. And it's weird because they kind of have a Benjamin Button thing going on, if you know any Capricorns, because they start out old. They're very, you know, set in their ways. They're very conservative type thinkers. They don't like to take big risks. They will, because they are the goat after all, but they take risks that they know they're going to do well at. And then they tend to get younger as they get older, if that makes any sense. They're also good both on the mountains and in the water because they are a goat fish, right? So it's the end of a tough cycle approaches. So number 4, you've got the end of a tough cycle, which is good because you've been in that Capricorn energy. Capricorns are very dark. They go dark really fast. They're the ones that always ask the heavy questions. Sagittarians do too, but Sagittarians do it in more of a jovial way. I always jokingly say I've never met a Saggy I don't like, and they're even better with a couple of beers in them, because then they start talking about the deep questions, but again, with a little bit of liquid courage in there. So they're a lot of fun. But Capricorns don't need the liquid courage or the beer to get them going. They will ask you whether there's a purpose to life. They will ask you what really happens to us after death. And you'll be like, I was just having some toast. I don't know. So that's what Capricorns are kind of like. So it's been a tough Capricorn type cycle. Saturn has been around and you're approaching the end of it. So this is good. So you're approaching the end of a tough cycle. You are feeling a little volatile. there's a volcano that's ready to erupt. It doesn't mean it's going to, it just means you're kind of feeling like bubbling to the surface kind of energy. So you've got to kind of be aware of that, not let it erupt. So that means you maybe have held back, because Capricorns their waters run very deep when it comes to emotions, but they don't always outwardly display them. So perhaps that energy has been around you a little bit and you have not displayed the emotions that you're feeling. You've kind of bottled them up, and because of that, there might be a potential volcano that wants to erupt. So be aware, pay some attention to that if you have been bottling them up. Whether it's, I haven't said I loved you when I should, or whatever it might be, because again, Capricorns are not necessarily demonstrative about their emotions and displaying them. But it could also be that maybe there's some things that are irritating you, or things that you're maybe a little bit upset about, or angry about, or sad about, and you've kind of just went, no, I'm just going to keep it inside. Now's the time to talk about it in a very calm, diplomatic kind of way. It's not time to point fingers and start things like, I feel upset when you do this. Do you realize, like, do you know that it makes me upset when you do this? Or things like that, right? Not because, again, the person might not realize they have upset you. They might be just going along in their merry day kind of thing, right? So make them aware in a very diplomatic, calm way. Or, let them know, I've been feeling really sad. It's been very tough. And emotionally, I've been feeling detached or flighty, or I just want to sleep for 12 hours, that sort of thing. And tell somebody about it, just to kind of get it out of your system. Or tell somebody that's, like I said, you may think I've been strong through this whole thing, this whole COVID thing, but now that we're coming out of it, I'm feeling like I want to release. And that's what this volcano is. You're feeling very volatile. So allow yourself that release so that you don't blow up kind of thing, because you're going to get into that sort of danger zone kind of thing. So keep that in mind. Allow yourself to release. Perhaps find a friend, because it might not be anybody in particular. It might not be, you have made me upset over the COVID and I can't stand it when you do this and la la la, so again, don't finger point. But if it's just sort of an overall thing, talk to somebody about it. It's a great way to release. A lot of times when I do tarot readings, there is release that needs to happen. So I let the client talk so that they can just get those emotions out there. And I find when they do that, the tarot reading becomes very, very precise and very specific, and a lot more clarity comes through, and it's a lot clearer, the messages that come through, because I allow them that space, because I create that sacred space for you to talk about your emotions or about a situation with no judgment, with I'm not here to say, well, you're wrong to think that, or, that sort of thing. You're in a safe place. Confidentiality is number one in my books. So don't be afraid to ever book a reading if you need to just talk something out, because sometimes in that, then the tarot kind of lets things be revealed that you need to see. And like I said, the tarot readings get very laser focused when you're able to release some of those emotions, especially around a situation that you're doing a reading about. So by releasing those emotions, onward and upward we go. We've got the goddess Irene. And she's the goddess of peace. She looks very much like the Empress in tarot, because she's got a baby, and the Empress in tarot is usually pregnant because she's all about abundance. And she's got some grapes and some corn, and there's dolphins in the background, all about abundance, all about good luck, that sort of thing, and peace is coming in. And it says, here's your message: there is no need to worry, as everything is working out beautifully. So perhaps there's something that you're worried about, not working out the way it's supposed to or whatever. Let things unfold as they're supposed to. Try to ease off on that control that we all seem to need, that micromanagement that we want to do. This is peace. She's the goddess of peace, but she's also saying, let go. Let go. Because by letting go, you let things unfold as they should. The moment you try to grasp onto something is when things will go sideways. So if things go sideways for you, know that you are hanging on to something you're not supposed to be hanging on to. You got to let it go. Because sometimes we hang on to the weirdest things and we try to micromanage the weirdest things. So just trust. Trust and surrender is one of the hardest things for any of us to do. By trusting and surrendering, you're letting go and you're just letting yourself fall a little bit. And sometimes that can be very scary because we're like, oh my God, I'm falling. I gotta hang on to something. Our first instinct is to want to hang on to something, but fall and know that the goddess is here to catch you, and that everything is working out beautifully. And it is, because again, I can see the card next. So how it's working out beautifully is it opens up an opportunity for the Ace of Pentacles. Aces are always doorways. Pentacles are about earthbound things, like our creature comforts. In particular about money and finances, but it can talk about cars and houses and things like that too. So this is some opportunity, some doorway that's opening. You get a gift. Let's see what your gift is. So it's great because you get the gift of 6 of Pentacles. You get another pentacle. So the 6 of Pentacles is about balancing your scales and still being able to have enough to give to charity, to be charitable with your money as well. So I like that 6 of Pentacles. So there's a gentle growth as far as money goes. So it's not a big, huge, windfall or anything, but it is a bit of a bump as far as your bank account goes. So that's always good. Either you've got extra money coming in, you get a little bit of a promotion, or perhaps you save some money on, like, everything you go to get is like on sale kind of thing, and it's like, oh, I planned on spending $200 and I only spent $100, or whatever it might be, right? So this 6 of Pentacles means there's a little bit of a bump in the money, always a good thing, over the next couple of weeks, and there's enough there that there should be some kind of a charitable thing that happens. And it could be, you give the guy on the street an extra $2 instead of the loony, or whatever it might be. It doesn't mean you have to drain your bank account for charity or whatever, or you can give a little donation to, some animal sanctuary or whatever it might be. But find some way to be charitable, whether with time or money. This one's indicating money as opposed to time. So that's always nice when you get a little bump like that, give a little bit as a thank you to the universe. So that's important for the next couple of weeks, to find those moments to be able to give, because it's the giving that brings the bump kind of thing of money, which is always good. So I hope you enjoyed those readings. I'm hoping to do another one again in another couple of weeks. So watch my Facebook page. Please subscribe to my channel. Like I said, watch my Facebook page for a pick a pile posting, pick your numbers, and then come here to YouTube to watch the findings of what your readings are and know what you're going into for the next couple of weeks. If you want any further details or want to go a little bit deeper or need to release some emotion around a situation or a person or yourself, whatever it might be, please feel free to book a reading with me. I do them both in person here in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, and I do them online worldwide. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll join me again for my next video. I'm also putting up another couple of videos. One is a tarot deck review that I'm going to be doing, and I'm adding a playlist of meditations. So I welcome you to listen to those meditations as well. I'm Lady Rose of Goddess Garage. I thank you for being here, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.